Okay, Rohan Patel comic book movie. Hey, Havana, how are you?
Hi, Rohan. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. The movies turned out great. I really had a blast with it. I was glued to the edge of the seat for like 90 minutes last night. So like I just had to ask like the first thing, like what was it about Darby that initially like made you connect with her and be able to portray her?
I think she is this very complex character and sort of blows up the stereotypes of someone who's struggling with addiction, the young age now, the hero. I think she takes those stereotypes and sort of, well, not her actually, but the script. And for me personally, I just fell in love with her right away. I think she's filled with all these sort of nuanced little bits about her. Her strengths really end up being her weaknesses, and her weaknesses end up being her strengths. And I think that that's like such a powerful dynamic within a character, and really in a path of self discovery. I think for me, it felt like a needed experience. I think going through what Darby goes through and actively being able to pursue that with her as an actor um, felt like I was also learning so much from her actively every day. So there wasn't really one thing, it was the whole amalgam of the project and um, also just like the immediate connection I felt with her.
Awesome. And so like you mentioned, like you Darby is an addict. So like playing that, did it have like parallels to like the journey that because she's like I think at the beginning of the movie, she's reluctant to like accept the help she needs, and like throughout this like extraordinary event, like she kind of finds her inner strength. So what was that like? Did you look into any like addiction or uh people like that to kind of get into the headspace?
I'm sorry, I'm having some Wi-Fi troubles today. So I heard most of the words I think you said, but I think you asked specifically about the role of addiction and
Yeah.
how, yeah, I think for me, I have a number of family and friends who have close experiences with addiction. And I also interviewed a number of people about it in order to understand the internal world of this character. I also think that addiction is a very common experience,
Mhm.
perhaps more common than we even talk about in culture. And I think there's something to be said about everyone's ability to relate to the sort of relationship to addiction and self esteem, shame, trauma. I think that those aspects of her and really what the motivation to sort of interact with drugs in the way that she does are things that it was very easy to tap into and understand from just a human perspective. I think that I learned a lot about addiction through the course of really studying this character and learning to be her. And I applaud everyone who helped me through. I wish I could sort of like even call out names in this moment, but
Mhm.
out of anonymity, I appreciate so much how generous people were in sharing a lot of the stories that they sort of experienced in the process of dealing with addiction, or even if they're currently dealing with it now, sharing their experiences with me, because it added all of the sort of complicated nuance and heart that I think Darby deserved.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then like I know the scene initially is like it's like a one or two scenes in the beginning of the movie that sets the stage for this almost emotional journey. So like the role of Darby is like it's actually quite a physical part for you because you go
Mm.
put through the ringer, you're in various different like interactions with other characters. So like what part of the whole shoot that did you find most difficult as just a performer?
Physically, you mean?
Yeah.
I to be honest, I think that the physicality of the role was probably one of my favorite parts about it. We had an incredible stunt coordinator named John Costello who single-handedly carried us through a lot of the choreography of those scenes, along with his amazing team, but emotionally carried us single-handedly through those scenes.
Yeah.
And I think, he imparted me with a lot of the confidence to be able to take on those things and really just let yourself live in them and just flow into them. And I found that the less I was thinking about sort of what I was trying to convey with that pain or that difficulty, and the more I was able to just throw my body into the space and do what needed to be done, I felt like so alive and so in flow. I come from a background in dance as well and some experimental performance. And so I think those aspects of my history sort of parlayed into this part and just loving that. that the trust fall that is these sort of dynamics between characters, and more physical dynamics, and also just the running of it all, the grit of it all that she has to experience.
Yeah, and so like I didn't realize like initially, like when you're watching the movie, it does not feel like that's a set. It feels like you're out somewhere on location and with the CGI in there. But so like when you were performing, like you have a background in dance, like you're saying, did it feel like you were performing on a stage almost, like when you're doing this? Because it almost felt like a play at some stages, because you're like having these different actions, different acts. So how'd that come across as a performing?
Oh, I think I'm sorry, I'm just losing a
Sorry.
little bit each time, but I think you're asking about like the choreography of being on stage and sort of
Yeah,
how
yeah.
that
Like
all
because
felt.
yeah, the whole set just felt like very much like a play. So like from your dance background, did it feel like you were on a stage, or like how everything like?
Yeah, totally, totally. I think what you learn from dance too is like a certain level of trust with your fellow troupe members,
Mhm.
your fellow dancers, and I think we were in some ways in a play or a dance of this choreography, and a lot of the time was spent on that set, really coordinating like what happened when, and the cues for certain things, and when this needed to happen, because there were moments that in escalation everyone is sort of has a part to play. And I think, that just honestly, it made me feel closer to the cast. It made me feel closer to the character. It made me feel like this extreme trust of the stage, of the visitor center, and sort of all that we were building there. I think it hit like a heart place for me that I didn't even know it would.
Yeah, no, the lodge really feels like, or the visitor center really feels like a like the sixth or seventh character. So so like when you mentioned the cast, like I know you guys are supposed to be like, you're especially distrustful of everyone initially as you arrive. So did you guys have? But you're also in New Zealand, so did you have much time to like build that chemistry with one another, or did you want to go in sort of like not know, like just kind of feeling each other out on set?
No, we did a lot of work to bond. I spent, I mean, throughout the entire thing too, these cast members feel very akin to a family to me now.
Mm.
Um, I respect each and every one of them in their craft, and also their professionalism, and also really their kindness and compassion, so much. I think that they really brought a certain level of depth and care to the craft, and we all did, that made it an environment that was very easy to bond and come up with those dynamics and talk through what was happening and rehearse things. And there's a scene where we're playing cards, and I think that that even just sort of having those circle times together and being able to discuss, felt like all really integral to the piece. I also think when you're dealing with such difficult material, and um, quite violent material, it's important to have some level of trust established. And I think that I was just so lucky that these people were so light and loving and open right from the start.
Yeah, no, like you guys do have really good, like it's extremely well cast, the entire movie. And so like I had that, since this is a really tense movie, I'll just wrap with this. But have you ever thought like doing something lighter in your next project, or like a superhero, something like that?
Do you say, am I interested in doing that?
Or yeah, something like a superhero or comedy or something, just something
Yeah,
completely
I
different
mean,
from this.
I'm down for any and all.
Awesome. I
I'm very,
can't wait.
very open.
Awesome. I can't wait for people to see this movie. But thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Rohan.